Hey, it's Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it's Monday. It's January 13th. This will be our chart lesson for today. And real quickly before we get started on this, the time has kind of snuck up on me, but I think I've mentioned it in the past that I'm taking a trip to Antarctica at the towards the middle end of January, and it's just gotten here quicker than I expected it would. Believe it or not, this Friday, I'm pulling up my calendar. I believe this Friday is when I leave. Just want to make sure I'm telling you that right. I leave on Friday the 17th, so that will be this Friday. So we'll have a full week this week. Other than Friday, there will be no um, mid-morning chart, and then I'll be gone the following week and the week following that one, and I'll return on February. I think we get back on February the 3rd, which is a Monday. So I probably won't be back in the office until Monday. Um, Actually, I may be back on the 3rd, so I need to double check when I'm going to be returning. So I think we come back on the 2nd, but it may be the 3rd. I can't remember if I'm going to be back in the office on the 3rd or we return on the 3rd, making it Tuesday the 4th before I'll be back, and we'll have a regular week that week. So I'm going to be gone the next couple of weeks, unfortunately. Um, After we just had a couple of weeks off at the end of the year, normally I don't try to leave for that length of period again that quickly, but that's when our trip is. And again, I'm going to Antarctica. It's kind of a once in a lifetime opportunity, so I'm not passing it up. So I will be gone. So just mark that on your calendars that starting Friday, no chart lessons for the next couple of weeks. And I'll either be back on Monday the 3rd or Tuesday the 4th. And I'll verify my dates and square that up with you before I leave this week. And so you just kind of know when I'm coming back. And assuming that all the travel goes well, you never know this time of year trying to travel. Uh, and these are international flights I'll be taking. I'm traveling actually down to Buenos Aires, flying out of Houston to Buenos Aires, and and then we leave from there on a boat to go to Antarctica. So we'll see how all this goes. Um, it's again, I hate that I'm leaving again so quickly after being out for the holidays, but this is when the trip is, and I can't pass it up. I can't pass up an opportunity to go to Antarctica. It's kind of a once in a lifetime kind of trip. So bear with me, and you'll have to do without me for a couple more weeks there. I hate it, especially during January when things are really starting to rock and roll again. But that's what it'll be. So anyway, barring any unforeseen issues, travel issues, I'll be leaving out um, Friday and won't be back until um, February 2nd or 3rd. I'm not sure if I'll be back in the office on February 3rd or 4th, but again, I'll square that up with you before I leave. So, um, but anyway, let's get to the chart lesson here. Let's start with our daily chart here. And I hinted around about this, or maybe even talked about it in our mid morning chart. But I believe we have to look at the fact that we're now in a downtrend. We had that long term uptrend here, but we had a break back here and continued in that trend, that upward channel for a long, long time. It was a really long, I mean, this was maybe the fourth straight month of this uptrending channel, fourth straight contract. So um, we were in a long-term uptrend there on the daily chart. But we did get a break and a new high, and now we're making lower highs and lower lows. And we had a little support across here, but we were still, even though we didn't necessarily make a lower low here. We still made a lower high. That's generally an indication you're probably going to push through that support which we did, and made another new low. Now we're severely oversold on the envelope band, so it was time for a bounce here. We haven't completely relieved that oversold issue yet, so we could still trend higher. So I'm looking at this possibly being a downtrend channel. We're in a longer term downtrend now. We're definitely in a downtrend on this daily chart now. Will it continue? It's possible this channel could be a little bit. It's possible there's a bigger channel here too, because we could be coming off of these here and maybe coming way down here, and then that would look right on that midline there. So we could have a bigger channel here or a smaller channel, which is this one within this bigger channel. Now for now, I'm going to leave this bigger channel off and we'll go with a smaller one, but just keep your eye on that bigger channel because it's a possibility. And we could be heading into a longer term bear cycle here. This thing kept going higher and higher for so long, and we've got good news with Trump coming back in, but he's got some. I mean, we really, the problem is the interest rates. There's still inflation out there. We haven't gotten that under control yet, so I think they've lowered the rates too soon, and we're going to have to raise them more, and the market doesn't like that. And so we may continue to see this market trend lower till they get this inflation issue. When you get inflation like that, the market doesn't like the higher interest rates, basically. Possibility of the higher interest rate. So we'll see what happens. Regardless of why, it looks like we're in we got to go with what the chart's telling us, and it's possible that we're in a longer term bear channel. Now we could have a failed breakout here and get back and continue sideways for a little while, but it looks like we got a channel here that's valid, and there could be a bigger down channel as well. So just keep that in mind. Let's flip over to the 2,000 tick chart. That's the one we care about because you can have rally days and bear days within on your 2,000 tick chart, and we're interested in what happens each day. This is just to kind of give us an idea of where we might be going longer term, but when it comes time to determine our trade and what we're going to be doing every day, all we're interested in is that 2,000 tick chart. So let's flip over to that. Okay, here's our 2,000 tick chart. Early on, it looked like we had a channel here. Maybe the highs were in here, and it looked like we had an overshoot. We did get a break there and a move to a new high, but we kept testing this upper side. I readjusted this, and we kept testing it. Then it looked like we had another overshoot. Then we even went higher than that. So maybe there's a bigger channel here, like so. It does tend to fit. So we still got a break either way you look at it. So, but we moved to the upper side of the channel again. I played the majority of it right through here today because that's where you get your most touches, and we really didn't get that last overshoot till almost 2 o'clock, and then we just kind of worked sideways into the 2:30 before we shot higher again. So I think you were better off playing this channel as I have it here, but you needed to play your short-term stuff too, and we had this big leg up here with a two-legged correction, so you figure we might get a measured move, and you can see we actually went a little further than that, and then worked sideways for a while before we shot higher at the close. So, but I think this is just a lot of this upward trend is because the market was really overdone to the downside. I think the path of least resistance was to the upside, and now that we've relieved that some, wouldn't surprise me to see us rally for another day or so. We might rally all the way back up to the upper trend line on that I just showed you, the new downtrend line, but we could turn back down at any point. So, but you saw it. Let's zoom in here. You had to be patient. There was no news or anything this morning, so you had to be patient. 7 o'clock came as you're kind of turning down here and getting your break of this channel. And then you got two legs up to a new high, and it turned down. So there's actually 2 bar matching high there. So you could treat this like a new low and 2 legs up. So that's a second entry short right there. I like that one. Plus, you already had your break of the green channel and 2 legs up, so you're a little ways away from the EMA, so you're probably heading down. Um, Even if we're going sideways overall, you're probably headed down because this is played out to the upside. And you're working down, you get a break and a couple legs to a new low, and then you find a triple bottom with a little failed breakout here. I like going long there. That's close to being blue, um, but you're usually better off to wait on a higher low. And you might even treat this like a higher low, but because we were mostly sideways at that point, um, and this might have been the upper side of the channel, I would sit tight on that one. But when we went a little higher and came back and made another test of that high, I'm sorry, of that low, then now as long as you got room to scalp out between here and here, take that trade. And that would have been a nice, quick, easy scalp. That's all you would have got out of it, most likely. You might have got a runner out of this, depending on how you played it, but you wouldn't have got much more than a few points out of it. And it turns back down, and we make another low. And the same thing, we're just kind of bouncing along there, and we get the little failed breakout, and it turns up. Now that's rejection there. It takes off. I don't know that you could even get in this trade, but if you could, you want to take it. And that's a quick, easy move, and you definitely get a runner there if you can find a way to get in that. And then, of course, you get your close outside and new high. Then you're working down. But it can't turn down. It just continues higher here. And there's no real setup to get in that. There is a second entry long here, but that's just too congested. That's just a first entry, and then you get your close outside and you're working down again. Now, there's a second entry, third entry, and then there's a higher low with a fourth entry, but there's just no setup here. It does run to a new high, and again, no signal bar. There is a second entry short there, but no signal bar, and then you get an inside bar, and again, now you're working down. You get a close outside and a new low, and no signal bar, and you're working up, and you just get a first entry. Now, you do get a close outside and a new high. There's still a lot of stem. Does that close in its lower third? I would say maybe. So maybe you give that a green, because you do have your close outside and new high, and you could argue there's a hidden second entry there. And then it turns back down, and we come down here, and it actually confirms this trend line. Notice you get this trend down, you get a close outside, a few legs to a new low, and you get a bullish bar right off that trend line, way away from the EMA. I like going long there. Now, you need to wait on the higher low to be sure, but if you want to be aggressive, this is where you do it. And then you're working across here. I didn't mark this trade, but you can clearly see there's a first entry and then a second entry, and it is right off what looks like a possible trend line. There is a triple test, although this does not make an equal low, so it's like an inside bar. But I think that's good enough. It's close enough. Maybe you take that. I'm going to mark it green, but it's not ideal, but there's a lot of reasons to like that trade. I liked it in real time, I'll just be honest with you. It's a little risky. You could have easily broke higher and turned down on you, stopped you out, but there's probably a hidden second entry there, but you've been away from the EMA a while. I'd sit tight. And you get a close outside, and you try to go higher a couple of times. No setup to go short, though. And this whole way down is just chopping down, and there's no real way to get short until finally you get a nice second entry right here, right off the key entry point, and the EMA, the trend line all together. I like going short there. It actually kicks back up one tick and turns down again. But you're starting to push it here. I think there's enough room to get out there. If there is, you might go short. The problem is you don't want to go short on the engulfing bar, and by the time you get to this bar, I mean, it would have worked, but I just think it's a little risky. And then we just continue to chop sideways here. We don't come back up to the higher trend line. We bounce several times at the lows, but I don't really see anything I like there to go long. We're in this is a downtrend. We did make a new low here. But by the time we get another bar to set up, it's not good enough there. Now we did get a higher low here. There's a second entry long here that triggered above this bar, but you can't trade that. But then you get a higher low here, so as long as you got room to get out between here and here, go long there. And you do. Then we get a failed breakout here. Again, you're better off to wait on the lower high, but I still think a second entry short on a failed breakout, it's a little aggressive going long there, or going short there, but I like that one again. And it comes down here and it bounces, but again, you don't get a signal bar. Runs up. Here you don't have you get a close and a new high all in one bar, so I definitely want a lower high, and you don't get one of those here either. The bottom just falls out. Now here's where you get your break of your trend line. There was a second entry long here. It's way away from the EMA. It's a good signal bar. So again, though, you're better to wait on your high or low, which doesn't come to way up here. And I don't think that's that's too far to be a high or low, so it's just a first entry. But maybe you take that if you want to be a little aggressive, and then you don't get another chance. This is just, boom, it just takes off, and you get a bunch of first entries all the way up until you get a close outside and new high, but no setup really to go short here until you come back, and then you get a first entry, then it tries to go higher and fails, so a break. This is an engulfing bar. Maybe, I don't think I would take that because it looks a little congested, but when this closes down here, if it breaks lower, go with it. Again, you don't get a big run or anything like that, but you get a fairly easy scalp, and it looks like it's probably 2 measured legs. You actually got a little more than a measured leg there. So, and then it bounces. Now, I don't see anything here that I like until here, possibly. Now this is a double bottom, so then you get a first entry, second entry that fails right at the key entry point, right at the EMA. I mean, we bounced there 3 or 4 times now, so maybe you take that. I marked it green. I didn't mark that blue. I think it's a little aggressive, but there's some reasons to like that trade. We run up here, then we're just working sideways. You might take this trade. It's real close to whether or not you have enough room here. It looks like maybe there's room. And you do close inside. Even though you trade outside, it closes back inside. I should at least give that a green. It's just a first entry, but you could play range rules and say, hey, we probably got a triple test here. It just made a new low. Then you run up. You do get a second entry here, but we're in an uptrend, so don't be trying to go short right there. It would have worked, but it's just too risky. Then you got a trend down, close outside, new high, and a second entry long here. You got to wait for this to close and go long above it, and then you get a higher low here, and maybe you go long on engulfing bar above that. I mean, that's mostly red. It's real close. You're probably better off to wait for this to close and then go long. As long as you got room to get out between here and here to scalp out, you probably take that trade. And there's another second entry here, but it's kind of, and you made a new high, so it's a possibility that you could go short there. Again, I'd probably wait. And same thing here, I'd wait. And you just don't really get a setup. You don't get a triple test here. You don't get one down here. You finally come back and you get a first entry and then a second entry, and everything closes inside. So it breaks below that, but the signal bar is kind of iffy, so I did make it green. But now you got a triple test down here with a good signal bar. I like going long there. And then you've got a triple test up here. Signal bar is real iffy. Let me zoom in here a little bit. You can see there's a little bit of stem. As it closes in this lower 1/3, it looks close. So, I marked it red just simply because we're at what looks like the high of the channel. We've turned down there at that resistance level multiple times. We've 1, 2, 3, 4 times now. So maybe you take that trade. It is a lower high. We bounce down here, nothing, and then we go short here. We're not back to the highs. Just kind of, there is a second entry there, but I'd sit tight. I did mark it green, but I'd probably sit tight on that. You get a failed breakout. It makes another leg down, and that's a second entry long. Notice this new swing high, first entry, second entry, and you're way away from the EMA on a possible failed breakout. So I like going long on that one. Since it was a second entry, I did make it blue. Otherwise, it'd probably be green. I'd say you need to wait on a high or low. Now, you do get a 2-bar matching high back inside here, and that's a fairly bullish bar. So if you notice that, there's no reason you couldn't consider that one too. It's it's a little aggressive maybe, but you can see it turns out to be a nice move up pretty quickly. And we run out the other side, fail, and you get the close outside on the green one and a move to a new high. Good signal bar. Since it's a second entry short, I like taking that one again too. And it's good for a scalp, maybe a little more, and then it bounces. I don't see anything there I really like. Comes back. Now you do get a close outside and a new a high or low here. You don't get a new low, you just get a high or low. But the signal bar doesn't qualify, so there's no real way to trade that. Same thing here. You get a second entry short, no signal bar. And I don't see anything in here till finally you get a break and a first entry and then a break above. This is a second entry, and you're looking for a retest of the high here. And sure enough, off it goes. Boom. And then it turns down. And we just chop sideways into 2 o'clock after that, or 2:30. Nothing else that we really can take there. So it's kind of a mixed bag today. I mean, we were pretty much up from, we kind of made a bottom at 340 this morning, and it was all up. But you could almost consider this to be sideways, and the trend maybe started here. So, yeah, kind of a different, interesting day. But we'll see what tomorrow brings. Will we get some follow-through buying? Are we going to turn back down and trend down some more? It's just hard to say. So this market, again, it was in such a long-term bull market that it's likely to not necessarily reverse and sell off, but it just kind of goes sideways or whatever. So just be aware that we could be going into a downtrend, and but this market's been very hard to hold down, so we could turn back up again. And even in the worst bear markets, you get some really strong bull days. So just be aware of that. Don't let a bull day fool you longer term. You want to get a string of those in a row before you consider you're in an uptrend. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'll check on my return date and kind of give you something more concrete than the 3rd or the 4th. And hopefully the market will continue to trend well while I'm gone, and y'all can make some money while I'm gone. But anyway, I'm going to wrap it up for today. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. I'm done for today. This is Mac with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.